everybody. I can see people joining on our Facebook Live and also participants and attendees. We are so excited to be able to cover this amazing topic of the legal side of independent and agency, as we see an uptick in the amount of intended parents going independent. We want to make sure that you are educated as an intended parent and a surrogate and understand the pros and the cons of everything. So if you'll give me a minute, I'm going to start the presentation itself, and I'll be able to introduce one of our amazing speakers, and we'll get started. Thank you guys for your patience. Awesome. Okay, everybody, this is Ashley, and I am with Ralph Tsong, who actually was my attorney for my first surrogacy. He represented, well, not my attorney, but he represented my intended parents through the process. Also is one of our top attorneys that we work with at Surrogate First. And so I'd love to kind of just introduce him. I'll share a little bit about our agency, our overview. There will be a survey at the end. So anyone who's registered and is here on the webinar will be able to go over that survey. Please fill that out. It's going to allow us to email you a copy of the webinar. We also will be having this stream live on Facebook right now. And then we also are going to be having this uploaded onto our YouTube channel. I'm going to make sure that we are recording at this point. So just one moment. Perfect. So we're going to be doing our webinar today on the legal insider perspective on independent and agency journeys. Tsong Law Group is a law group with Ralph Tsong, who has helped us with, I would say, probably over the hundreds of cases we've done. You guys have helped us with the majority, if not most of them, in California. You guys are also licensed in a few other states. So I'd love for you to be able to share that when you introduce yourself, as well as being an attorney who helped with my personal journey. So I can attest that Ralph is highly educated and experienced, warm-hearted, probably one of the quickest turnarounds I've ever seen in the history of our agency. You were able to draft a contract for parents who are on a very tight timeline and get the approvals, and the attorney that was helping the surrogate. And I think from the start to finish was like 7 days or something, 7 business days. So that was the fastest I'd ever seen in the history. We usually tell parents 4 to 6 weeks to experience the legal clearance. So Ralph also is been in practice for 24 years. 6 years in the field of assisted reproductive technologies, graduate of University of Chicago Law School, licensed in California, Arizona, Illinois, and Washington. You are also a fellow at Quad A and the Academy of California Adoption and Art Lawyers, and a member of the Associated Bar of American Bar of Associates, Art Committees, SEEDS, ASRM. I mean, I don't know how you have enough hours in the day to be able to accomplish all of this, but I know that you're around here. I also saw that, like, was it this year, last year, you were also featured with like an award and recognized for all your hard work. So we definitely appreciate you being here. Maybe you could share a little bit about yourself and your heart of your firm.
Yeah, so I practiced 24 years. I guess I did a lot of years in government, so I don't look so old as other attorneys. But I got into this field because I started my own law firm because I had adopted my son, and we were IVF survivors. And I wanted to help people with family formation. And we have, I have that personal experience with the IVF cycle. And it just turned out that surrogacy was such a great fit for me. So I've been helping families out. I've been helping both surrogates and intended parents, about equal numbers. And we do more than 100 cases a year for surrogacy, and about 100 cases a year for egg donation as well. And we work on California time, which I think means we have to do things faster than the other states. I think California probably is the fastest. At least the attorneys there's so many attorneys, so we tend to be pretty competitive amongst ourselves. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to work with Surrogate First. It's a great agency that, we've seen a lot of good matches from, a lot of success. And I want to talk about this subject because more and more people are looking at surrogacy. And at the same time, it's becoming more and more out of reach for people because as there are more people interested in surrogacy, there are fewer surrogates available for everybody. And people are looking abroad, but people are also looking at independent matches. And some of the, I'm on the Facebook groups, and some of the things that concern me, because there are some people who are like preying on intended parents, and I don't think they're actual surrogates, or they might be from another country, and they have their best, they might be honest and want to become surrogates, but that might just not be a possible match. But I do want to talk about my experiences with independent surrogacy, as we do see a lot of independent cases. And I'm not going to say that independent surrogacy is not right for people, or that one is better than the other. They both have pros and cons, and we'll talk about those. But I just want to talk honestly about some of the things we've seen in independent surrogacy.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I appreciate, you sharing your heart on this. As a 4-time surrogate and the intake director at Surrogate First, I know that I've met many parents who, meet with our agency and they don't know where to begin with the surrogacy process. And maybe they find that the cost and what they believe might be the full cost of a surrogacy journey might not be in their budget. And so they're looking at the option of independent, whether that's with someone known to them or someone that is a stranger at first. This is definitely like a married at first sight, if that makes any sense, because we get to know each other fairly quickly. And so I definitely appreciate that. I'm going to cover, we'll start off with covering what we're going to be discussing for the journey. Once we go over that, a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is recorded. It will be available, like I said earlier, on Facebook, YouTube, and also to any of our intended parents that registered with the webinar, or our surrogates that registered. If you have any questions and you need a copy and you can't find out where it's at, you can always email me at Ashley, ASHLEY, at Surrogate First, SURROGATE FIRST.com. And I'm more than happy to point you in the right directions. During this webinar, if you have any questions for Ralph, I will be able to share with you too his contact information. And if there's any other providers or services that you may need, whether you're an intended parent or surrogate with our agency, feel free to reach out to my Ashley at surrogatefirst.com website, or info at surrogatefirst.com. We are definitely not gatekeepers in the surrogate community, and we believe that by educating, we will continue to keep surrogacy safe in the US. We want to make sure that everyone is educated, that whether you're going with an agency or not, you have some information and support so that it doesn't turn into a negative experience for everyone. So we will get started. A little bit about Surrogate First, and I'll make this quick. We are founded in Los Angeles, California. We were established in 2018, and we have a team of about 15 staff members over 8 states. It's always growing. And our case management was under 100 cases last year, just shy of 100. There's several things that I feel stand out about Surrogate First, and that's going to be our core values. We want to wow. We want to delight our intended parents. We want to over communicate. We want you to be, we want you to trust the process, trust us and our experiences. But we also want to be transparent with you and be able to answer those questions. Same thing for our surrogates. We want to make sure that you are educated and supported. And we're very open and humble, I think, at my own perception of our agency, to learn and to better our services. We do want to be the best, not necessarily the largest, but we want to give that core experience to everyone. We also are available 24/7. We do have a 24/7 line with customer service. And so that's a little bit about us. The other thing that stands out is we are a no match, no fee agency. So there is no match, no fees due until 4 things occur. You accept a surrogate's profile, she accepts your profile, the clinic accepts the medical records, and you do a match meeting. Our match meetings are what help us to be successful with Ralph. When we get to that point, we want to make sure that everyone is evenly yoked and agrees upon all those important topics. And I'm sure that Ralph's going to explain more about that, so I don't even need to hang out here. We also have a pretty quick matching process. At this time, we are currently 0 to 3 months. I know that sounds crazy, and that does sound crazy to me too, but we currently have an amazing influx of wonderful surrogates that are qualified. Currently, we have about a 90 to 94% disqualification rate, or a 5 to 10 to 6 to 10 acceptance rate. So we will go through medical screenings, background checks, psychological evaluations, full drug panels, to make sure that as a surrogate, that it's safe for you to carry a baby, and it's safe for the baby, and it's a safe environment. Also helps with the nerves, because Ralph, as you're an intended parent, or you adopted your child and you went through IVF, I can't imagine the thought process of maybe using a surrogate to carry your child and trusting the process and it being safe. Like, I know for me, I'd probably be the worst intended parent there is. So I'd be like out of bush. No. So maybe you can share a little bit about why, why is being legally represented in surrogacy so important?
Yeah, so a lot of people don't really know why the lawyers are involved in this process. But this is going to be a year or longer commitment if you have a successful journey. And I say longer than a year because even if your surrogate gets pregnant right away, there's still going to be bills to pay afterwards. There's still going to be things that come in, and they could come in 6 months later or something like that. So we're going to have a contract. There's going to be a contract that's going to be close to 50 pages or more. And it's going to explain what everybody's responsibilities are, what everybody's duties are, what people are giving up, what people are waiving, those sorts of things, as well as what the compensation is. And I don't know about you, but like if you get a really long contract on Netflix or Apple, whenever you update your app, you're probably not going to read it, and you're probably not going to understand it even if you did. But since we're the lawyers and one of us has drafted the contract, we're going to be able to explain the contracts to you. So that's a very important thing, that you be able to understand the contract, that you feel comfortable with it, that you can make changes and you're not going to be surprised later on in the journey. The contract review for the surrogate is also important because that she's going to have to make some commitments, and she's going to have to know what she's getting into. Her spouse is going to need to know as well. The parentage part is when we confirm that the intended parents are parents. The surrogate's attorney will also participate in that usually. And we have to make sure that the contract is legally sufficient, that we can get a parentage judgment.
Yeah.
And and it is actually the law in California, as well as many other states, that both surrogate and intended parents have separate representation. So that's an important legal protection. And one of the things we also do is we assist intended parents or the surrogates, our clients, when there are conflicts down the road. We won't actually become involved in litigation, but we will try to resolve disputes. We'll try to answer questions that come up along the way during the contract. We'll try to make simple amendments to the contract as well, if that's necessary.
I definitely agree with you too, on the fact that like most people don't read their contracts when they're signing these long contracts for like, their cable or their cell phones. I know for me personally, I was that person who actually read every page of the paperwork when we bought our home and all of my surrogacies. And I remember meeting my attorney for the first time as a first-time surrogate. And he said, okay, is there anything you have questions on? And I was like, yeah, where do I start? And I literally was like, I need, 1.2, like, let's go. And he's like, you read this whole thing? I was like, we're growing a human. Like, we got to understand these contracts. And that, attorneys are there to support us because we don't understand legalese, and so we want to make sure both parties are supported. And I think that's what makes, surrogacy and attorneys in surrogacy just so valuable, is that we're not here to one up each other. It's all about making sure the contract is fair for everyone. Everyone agrees to the terms. So we definitely appreciate you. During this webinar, we're going to be discussing several topics. So you've got your work for you, because I've got a lot of knowledge I need to pull from you. First one is going to be when attorneys are involved in agency or independent surrogacy journeys. Why do intended parents go independent? Why do surrogates go independent? Which cases end up having issues? Reasons why some journeys never make it through legal clearance, and so much more. I'm going to be talking about a survey. We've done 2 surveys in the history of Surrogate First, where we've been able to survey hundreds of surrogates. We actually, too, little secret, have just completed, or we're going through our process right now to do our first intended parent survey. We want to make sure to gather data and inform the community and really understand what's going on. I'm sure you've seen, an uptick in compensations and different, benefits and requirements. We really want to understand where that's coming from. So we'll share a little bit at the end, depending on how much time we have available. Would you mind sharing a little bit about like when attorneys are involved with, independent journeys?
Yeah, I can tell you, in the agency case, usually we get our cases after the medical clearance. That we're told, or in surrogate first cases, I guess it's the medical screening is scheduled because you've pre-approved. I guess you have like medically pre-qualified surrogates. And the reason is because, the contract is not going to be drafted until the match is confirmed to be medically cleared. Medical clearance is not 100% given. It might be, pretty likely, but, at the same time, there could be further tests and that sort of thing, and then the surrogate might withdraw from the process. So we don't want to get involved too soon. In independent cases, we recommend that you talk to the attorney right away when you're thinking about any kind of independent journey. And even before you have the match, because we can provide you with like a template for coming up with the compensation. The compensation is very important, and that I'm foreshadowing, it's going to be a stumbling block to a lot of independent journey cases. So you do want to have that compensation package that you would present to a potential surrogate. And we can also tell you whether, some surrogate that you might have in mind is even a possible legal possibility. So sometimes we will be asked to draft the contract before medical clearance because the agreement is maybe in independent cases, we're less likely to reach the agreement. So we may want to do that before medical clearance, but generally it is done after medical clearance.
Yeah, I've seen many times on the surrogate groups, or even I provide knowledge to a medical provider, for support of employee learning more about surrogacy. And so many times are the independent cases that I either, meet with or online will get to legal, and they never discuss termination. They never discuss like the full compensation package. And so they could be on completely different fields when it comes to that, because no one wants to talk about money when you're meeting someone. That's not a way to like build a relationship. Hi, I'd love to carry your baby. Let's talk money and, and termination standards. So I'd love that you guys, are available for intended parents early on in the process so that you can help set up that foundation so they even know if it's a viable match with them.